everyone. Happy Friday. Welcome to AIGA Real Talk, where we dive into conversations that move our industry forward. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm Nicole Parente-Lopez from the AIGA board. Who's here? Where are you joining us from? I already see the chat is going bonkers, so keep adding on. Please say hello, introduce yourself. This series was created because we believe the most powerful conversations happen when we're honest about our challenges and opportunities. So today we'll do some real talk about enduring creativity, nurturing the creative journey beyond job titles. For the next 30 minutes, we'll explore how creativity persists even when our career paths take unexpected turns. I've invited co-host Sara, Sharif, Iqbal, President and Co-operations Director at AIGA Houston, to help us discover the invisible aspects of creative endurance. So drop your questions and comments in the chat. This is your conversation too. Wow. Nice to see you. Hello, Brian from SF. Hello, Asheville, North Carolina, Chicago. Aaron, hello. Oh, wow. So many people are here. This is wonderful. Oh, hello from Shelby from Long Island. All right. Hello, Sara. Happy Friday to you. Let's get started. Let's dive in. So let's talk about identity shifts. So when did you first realize your creative identity wasn't defined by your job title or your role?
Yeah, so it was interesting. For me, it was when I became a mother. So when I was working and as a designer, for branding, and at that time I was also doing web design. But when I realized that I have become a mother, I saw that this person who has come into this world is not going to share the same experiences that I had growing up. And for me, it was, I grew up half and half in Saudi and in Pakistan. So, I was exposed to like 4 different languages. I knew Arabic, and Urdu language is the national language of Pakistan. And then Punjabi was one my household language. And then, of course, English. We knew English growing up because, the schools, that I went to taught English. So it was important for me to kind of preserve that heritage, culture, language for my son. And that's when I realized that, it's kind of different, that I was going to take on a different role from a creative perspective, and I wanted to do that for my son. I wanted to teach him the language, so I did it in the most organic way, which is storytelling. And so I would tell him stories in Urdu language, and even the English stories I would tell in Urdu language. And then I discovered the library story times. So my husband and I, we decided to host a Urdu story time at the library. We booked a nook, and we invited all our friends who had little children as well. And I narrated the story in Urdu. While we were narrating the story, we put up the pictures on the big screen. The books, illustrations were seen by these children, and they were so engaged, and they loved it. They had questions, and they were like, hey, what's Billy? I was like, that's a cat. And so from there it just started. I realized that there was like an identity shift from a professional graphic designer to this person who could contribute to my community. And that's when we started out with these Urdu language classes. I couldn't be a teacher. My friends were asking. I was like, "Can you teach?" I was like, "No, I can't teach." But we actually, through a friend of a friend, we found a professor teaching Urdu language at UT Austin, and she directed us in that towards this federally funded program called Star Talk. um, that actually preserves critical languages in the U.S. And through that, we were able to apply a grant for an immersive Urdu language camp. And that's when I discovered that I could write a curriculum, I could develop a language class, and even teach it. Um, so yeah, so for me, it was a very, very interesting shift. Uh,
Yes.
yeah, yeah.
That's an incredible story. And if I reflect on the how when I first realized my creative identity wasn't tied to my job title or my role, it's similar themes. It's how we show up in the moments in between. It isn't the work itself, it isn't the end result itself, but creativity is how we show up and how we connect ideas, even in those small and unseen moments. That's when we truly shine. And when you separate that from the work itself, it's it's really freeing. It's intrinsic to who we are, and it's undeniable. Once a creative, always a creative. So I think that's super cool.
It's very, very true. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
All
yeah.
right. So let's move on. Let's talk about the invisible labor. As designers, we all know we focus on outputs, but there's a lot of work that happens behind the scenes, both mentally, emotionally, sometimes physically. So, what's the most important behind the scenes work you do that nurtures your creativity, but might never ever be seen publicly?
That's a great question. I think that's very true that we do a lot of stuff behind the scenes, even when you tell people from a professional point of view that you are a designer, you're a creative director, they don't exactly understand what that means. Um, Even sometimes your clients don't understand until you present that entire strategy to them. Okay, hey, listen, we are going to help you with this. Um, for me, behind the scenes have been a few things. Some of the things uh, I would say are not quite seen. I am a founder of an arts and culture organization, and I helped develop a lot of communications for that, which, behind the scenes, of course, it was all happening. Um, and no one has really seen the process or the strategy or even the gratification that I have felt.
Mhm.
Um, so that is something that I believe the gratification that you get out of the creativity is something that's also very unseen. Um, and people usually measure uh, your work or your life or your success through, um, you know, where you're at your work, what's your, title. But they don't really see, behind us, inside of us, what's happening. So yeah, so sort of philosophically, it's that, but a little bit of the other side that I have is, like, I love theater. So I have written, produced, and directed children's plays um, that I put up in Urdu for our community.
Mhm.
So I would say that that's not entirely unseen, but it's seen by a very, very small fraction of the public here.
Mhm.
What about you?
So for me, I think when I think of my career as a creative and I think about the work that's been seen and then the work that I do to lead up to the work that's been seen, really the theme that kind of threads across is just my bias toward action. Like I am willing to start when I just have an inkling of information. I will just run. I will just start because I'm excited about the challenge or the opportunity. I have ideas and I just want to start testing them out, even when the path is blurry or unknown. We don't know where we're going. So it's that quiet persistence of just showing up and exploring ideas before they're even ready and just trusting in the process. And sometimes it leads to more questions. Sometimes it leads to a start of an idea. Sometimes it leads to, well, this is too big. I need some more collaborators and I need to ask more questions. But just that willingness to start even before you have all the information, I think that is my behind the scenes work that I do.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah. Let me go check over, check in the chat. Please ask questions. This is your conversation as well, so be a part of the dialogue. Oh, Peter has a question. What's your thought on creative director and art director degrees? Sara, do you want to take that one?
Do I want to take that one? That's actually a great question. Creative director and art director degrees, I feel, could perhaps lend a little bit of a academic perspective, but I believe what you learn from your experiences is something unique that you can't learn at school. What I learned at school, even when in my undergrad, does not compare to any of my experiences today.
I agree. I 100% agree with that. Real life experiences. There's the academic approach and then there's the real life experience approach, and both have their value, but the real life experience approach has been a much higher value for me in my career. And I think actually the next topic we're going to talk about, I think kind of can lean into that a little bit. So we're going to talk about evolution paths. So how has your definition of creativity evolved through your career journey? So maybe we'll talk about art director versus creative director roles within this as well.
Wow, yeah. So my journey has been kind of very unconventional. So I started out in motion graphic design and then moved on to web design. Um, and within 4 years of my in-house corporate professional career as a designer, I left and I freelanced for a few years, and then I've been a solopreneur for about 20 plus years. Um, so I'm not a conventional creative director. I am a creative director because I provide creative direction um, uh, for small businesses for their for branding and digital experiences for nonprofits and small businesses, but it hasn't been, in that conventional sense. And then as far as the evolution is concerned, yes, I have evolved from a motion designer who knew print, web, and now a whole new world of digital experiences. Um, it has been interesting because from my evolution, I have not. I feel like creativity is not just creating design. Uh, it is also adapting to the changes. I think that's how my creativity has evolved. I have adapted to the changes, and that has evolved me with a very open mindset. uh, I believe if we keep learning and discarding the knowledge that we don't need, that's also important.
Mhm, mhm. That's great. Okay.
um,
Yeah,
how
we have.
about?
Oh, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. Is there a question?
Yeah, Kelsey Chapman in the chat has a great question. So, if you could tell a graphic design student something you wish you'd known when you first started, what would it be?
Did you want to go? I know I have one thing to say.
Oh, you go first.
Well, one thing I'll have to say is to be a reliable person. That's the most important thing. I know, and be a good listener. Um, that is something that you can't learn. The soft skills you can't learn in your design program. So be a good listener and be reliable.
Nice. You stole one of mine. Listening is a critical skill for a designer, and listen deeply and ask a lot of questions. And don't be afraid of asking about the unknowns. There are no bad questions, there are no bad ideas. So listening and asking a lot of questions is critical. And then also another critical one thing I would tell myself if I were to go back in time is trust yourself. Trust your creativity. Trust what is built and inherent inside of you, um, and roll with that. Don't try to conform to something else. Don't try to be something else, because what's inherent inside of you is why you're in the situation you're in, why you're in the job you're in, why you're being on the project you're on. So bring that to the table.
Yeah, that's very true because just, I don't know, a lot of us, especially women, we have this imposter syndrome, and we stop trusting ourselves at different points in our lives. Um, and that's very true. I totally agree with you on that. And I'm actually also very inspired by your writings.
Thank you, Sara. Okay, so we have lots of questions in the chat now. So let's go to Damini Bhatti. How do you stay creatively fulfilled when your role starts feeling more about management and less about making? That's a great question.
That is a great question because
Mhm.
as a solopreneur, that's very true. For a lot of time, it has been um, about management and a lot of management. um, I have discovered, I said one thing that, sometimes as creatives, we have to put on a lot of different hats, and sometimes some of those hats are too tight and they give us a migraine, but some of them really pinch us and kind of ignite um, uh, something new that we didn't think that we had in us. So for me, I'll tell you, it was strategy. I never knew that I could be strategic. I've been a creator, I've been an artist. I always lean towards visual and performing arts, but I had no idea that I had this A type in me and I could do it. So I would say let it happen. Don't fight it, because that's creativity too.
Mhm. I agree. And so I've played both roles. The most recent is my management in my career, but there's creativity in management. I think exactly like you're saying, Sarah. And there's creative oversight in certainly in creative direction management. So you're still pulling on that string and muscle in your career. But I also look outside of my career to stay creatively fulfilled in a lot of ways. Like Sarah mentioned, I've been doing a lot of writing. I lean into my fine art. I have a cookbook club that I co host. Like that is all creativity coming to life and manifesting in many different ways. So just be true to yourself and look inside. And yeah, and sometimes in order to get to that truth, you need to take a little bit of a break and step back and just even go for a walk, get some fresh air. The answer, it'll come to you. It's there. It's already inside. You just have to listen.
Very true.
Yeah. All right. I'm going to move on to our next question. So let's talk about this is actually similar sustainable creativity. So, what boundaries have you established to protect your creative energy for the long haul?
Yeah, I remember us talking about it.
Yes.
And we have to make boundaries. We can't we start as excuse me, as creatives, it's hard to say no, and we keep doing and doing, and then we feel burned out, and sometimes creativity feels doesn't feel all that great either, designing, creating. And so it's very important to take that step back, like you said. Yes, go out, take a walk, step away, do something different. I sew, and I enjoy that. That's making something else and not just sitting in front of the computer designing something digitally or draw. I know you draw, and you have these amazing charcoal um, rock drawings that I was blown away seeing that. I was like, I can't wait to be in person for that kind of an exhibition. So it's important. It's important to do that. Yeah.
For sure. For sure. Similar to you, the art of saying no is critical from keeping my creative energy high or alive even. You've got to set those boundaries for
Yeah.
mental, physical, and digital wellness. It keeps you honest, it keeps the work honest, it keeps your mind expansive versus constrained, and that's critical in any creative career. So I am really unapologetic about preserving space for unhurried time. And that's where you get to the real depth of your true creativity, I think.
Yeah, that's true. I believe when I was elected the president for AIGA Houston, um, I actually told my organization that I'm going to take a sabbatical for a little bit and take a break from the board and my role as a communications director. And I believe I believe in focusing. I like have a razor sharp focus, and then being a master of one at a time.
Nice. Um, okay, we have so many questions, Sara. We're going to run out of time. Okay, another question from Domini. How do you measure the impact of your work beyond awards or metrics? It's a great question. I'll jump in. I measure the award, the impact of my design work in my career against the impact it had on the audience. So did it reach the audience? Did they feel something? Did it move them emotionally? Did they understand the content and the message we wanted to get across? That's how I measure the impact of my work.
Yeah, that's very similar to how I feel about measuring the impact. Um, Other than I feel the clients, I guess they can give you a feedback right away. But overall, I believe uh, as someone who designed a program for the community, that response was was my measurement. We had huge responses for the past 8 years. We've had Urdu immersion summer camps, and they have been uh, students have been on wait list for that because they are uh, just highly um, well, they're really well known, but they're highly recommended by the parents to the parents. So that's, to me, is a great metric
Mhm.
to see the impact of the work.
Nice. Okay, so let's going back to the chat. As I scroll, I just see question after question. Who are this is LinkedIn users? Who are your most inspiring creative heroes and why?
Um, I have many, and some of them I would have to say that my most inspiring heroes is actually my family, because I do come from a family of artists. They are really well-known artists, and unfortunately, no one has heard the name. The Chughtai art was actually the art that was uh, that came from the Mughal art. It's a flat perspective watercolor
Hmm.
paintings that were created during the 18th and the 19th century. But my great grandfather was a professor at an art institution in Pakistan, um, and one of my uncle was the one who founded Chughtai art, and he's been my inspiration. It's a beautiful form of art, and he's been one of, even today, if you look at flat perspective, it has a lot of roots in graphic design. And so, yeah, I would have to say Chughtai art is my
Man, I
number
would
one
love to see that,
inspiration.
Sarah. You have to share. I'd love to. Oh, can you actually spell it so people can look it up? And
Yeah,
yeah,
absolutely. It's Chughtai.
nice. Thank you. Okay, one more question. We have time for one more question. Okay, so from Agmaya Rao, do you think it's more valuable for young designers to be a jack of all trades or a master and market one specific skill that they excel at?
Oh, Yeah, that's a great question. Right now, yes, everyone expects you to be a unicorn, but that doesn't have to be that way. I believe that you should know about, other skills, um, and be able to be, evolve and be flexible. Uh, but be good at one or two. You can't be a jack of all trade, because that will dilute your your focus and just your passion.
Yes.
Yeah.
100% agree. I'll say when I was early on in my career, I tried everything. Try everything and see where your heart leads you and where your energy is, and then lean into that. Um, yeah, don't try to do it all. Just find,
Yeah.
yeah, but take the time to find the thing that gives you the most value, gives you the most energy, gives you the most heart. Yeah.
Right. Uh, I mean, I have delved into everything. I loved print, but when I learned about web design, I just happened to end up doing that because of my work. And I loved doing that too. And I realized that I think I liked web design more. And I liked creating the digital experiences more than just the print work. I still do print work, but I know that where my focus is. And that's how I have developed uh, my business offerings as well. Um, and I know about AI, but I mean, I use it to help me with my project management, but but it has not taken over my life. And you know, uh, everything is a tool, and we should know how to use the tools. But creativity comes out of you; it does not comes out of the tool.
100%. 100%. Sorry, I couldn't agree more. Done a lot of thinking and writing about that recently.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, okay. So, gosh, these comments are so great. So, everyone should go check out Aaron Kruger's Lego that he's focusing on lately as his creative outlet. There's a link in the chat. And wow, those Legos are getting a lot of response. That's incredible. And, we are at time. I want to thank you, everyone. That's our session. That went by really fast. I think we can both talk about this for a very long time and hope we get another opportunity to do so. So thank you so much, Sara, for joining us and for all of your great questions and comments. And don't forget that AIGA is a nonprofit membership organization dedicated to supporting designers like you and all of our creative communities. So membership really helps us invest in your career, the design profession, a nationwide network of creatives, and programs like these. So please check us out on aiga.org and connect with us on LinkedIn and tag AIGA Real Talk if this has inspired you. We'll do this again on June 13th, so check out the AIGA Design LinkedIn page to RSVP for the next one. Again, I'm Nicole Parente-Lopez. See you for the next one. Have a great Friday, everyone. Bye.
Thank you.